The name itself sends a shiver down your spine. El Dorado, the lost city of gold. For centuries, this legend has been the ultimate siren call for adventurers, treasure hunters, dreamers. It painted a picture of a city paved with gold, palaces built from solid blocks of gold, emeralds scattered like common stones. This wasn't just a story of wealth, it was a promise of unimaginable riches, a kingdom hidden deep within the treacherous jungles of South America. It was the jackpot, the end of the rainbow, the greatest treasure hunt the world has ever known. The idea was so powerful that it drove men to madness and to the ends of the earth. But where did this incredible story come from? It didn't just appear out of thin air. The legend of El Dorado wasn't originally about a city at all. It was about a man. The story began with the Muisca people, a sophisticated civilization in the highlands of modern-day Colombia, long before the Spanish ever arrived. Their traditions were rich, their connection to the land was deep. They had a very special ceremony centered around their new leader, their new king, a rite of passage as unique as it was spectacular, and it involved a whole lot of gold. The ceremony took place at a sacred lake, Lake Guatavita. The new chief's body was covered in sticky tree resin, then dusted from head to toe with fine gold powder. He became El Dorado, the gilded man, a living statue of gold, shimmering under the Andean sun. This wasn't for show. It was a spiritual offering to the gods of the lake. The chief was a bridge between his people and the divine. Accompanied by his priests, the gilded man was taken to the lake's center on a ceremonial raft, laden with treasures, gold figurines, intricate emerald jewelry, other precious offerings. As the sun rose, the chief dove into the lake, washing the gold from his body, returning it to the gods, while priests cast offerings into the dark, cool waters. This was the real El Dorado, not a place, but a person and a ritual, a profound act of faith and renewal. When the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the New World in the 16th century, they had one thing on their minds: gold. They had toppled the Aztec and the Inca empires and plundered immense fortunes, fueling an insatiable hunger for more. They heard whispers, fragmented stories from different tribes, about a land of unbelievable wealth. The natives, perhaps to send them on a wild goose chase, pointed them into the unexplored interior. In the chaos of conquest and rumor, the story of the gilded man morphed. A man covered in gold dust became a king who bathed in gold. A lake ritual became a city where gold was as common as dirt. The city of gold was born from translation errors, wishful thinking, and the relentless European obsession with treasure. For men like Francisco Pizarro and Hernán Cortés, who had seen the riches of the Incas and Aztecs, the idea of an even wealthier kingdom was irresistible. In 1529, Ambrosius Iñiger led the first major expedition into today's Venezuela and Colombia. Unprepared for the brutal jungle, his men suffered, and Iñiger died by a poison arrow, a grim end to a fruitless search. The expeditions in search of El Dorado were exercises in extreme human suffering. Gonzalo Pizarro led one of the largest and most disastrous quests in 1541, setting out from Quito with hundreds of Spaniards and thousands of native porters. They expected a quick journey to a land of plenty. What they found was a green hell. The jungle was a relentless enemy. Rains turned paths to swamps, clothes rotted, and food grew impossibly scarce. As weeks became months, they ate their dogs and horses. When those ran out, they boiled leather belts and saddles for sustenance. Sickness ran rampant: fever, snake bites, starvation. The native porters, forced into servitude, suffered the most, dying by the hundreds. Only the promise of gold kept survivors moving, a flickering candle of hope in overwhelming despair. This wasn't adventure, it was a slow, agonizing march toward oblivion. Lieutenant Francisco de Orellana was sent downriver for food. Swept by the current, he couldn't return upstream. Instead of returning, they made a historic choice: continue downriver through the unknown. For months they drifted the vast Amazon, facing attacks and unending hunger, finding no El Dorado. But they became the first Europeans to navigate the river's entire length, a monumental feat born from desperation. Back in the jungle, Pizarro finally gave up. After 2 years, a handful of half-mad survivors returned. No gold, no city, no glory. Only death and misery. After decades of failed expeditions and countless lost lives, the search shifted. The Spanish pieced together the Muisca legend. This wasn't a city, but a lake. Lake Guatavita became the target. In the 1540s, Hernán Pérez de Quesada lowered the water with a bucket brigade, finding several hundred pounds of gold artifacts. In the 1580s, Antonio de Sepúlveda cut a massive notch, dropping the lake by 20 meters and revealing treasure. But a catastrophic landslide killed many and ended the project. Even in the 1900s, engineers fully drained the lake, only to be defeated by mud and time. A few artifacts, far less than the cost. The lake kept its secrets. The truth is more complex and fascinating than a city of gold. It was a real ritual by a real people at a real lake. Explorers found gold, but not tons. The real treasure was the Muisca's culture, traditions, and spiritual worldview, misunderstood by conquistadors. The legend refused to die, fueling centuries of quests, inspiring Sir Walter Raleigh, and seeping into books, movies, and games. El Dorado became the symbol of the unattainable prize. We still chase it because it embodies hope, adventure, and the unknown. There is no city of gold, but understanding the story is its own reward. That's a legend worth chasing.